All right. Hey, Ben, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Dave Batista.
Fuck off then.
If they had a doorbell, it could have been a Shyamalan ding dong.
Yeah. That's what it should have been.
Should have been. I'm glad that that was your answer because I had nowhere to go with that.
No.
The perfect introduction to a reaction video to M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Knock at the Cabin. And hello to everybody. This is Glenn and Ben from the Good Movie Monday podcast. And I think my voice just went up a few octaves there. I think my testicles retreated.
Went on holiday into your belly for a week off.
We are on hiatus, so are they. Far out. Anyway, we are hello to everybody. We are from the Good Movie Monday podcast, and we're on a bit of a break, coming back on March 6th with the show. But in the meantime, we're dropping random videos, mostly reactions to movies we've seen at the cinemas. And we saw Knock at the Cabin, which, look, right off the bat, Ben, this is a really awful title. Like, it's not a phonetically pleasant title to say.
It's an odd one. I don't know. I don't know if M. Night is still big enough to do whatever he wants, or he suffers from interference from studios. What the deal is, and I think this one definitely had a like, either there was definitely some ratings considerations.
Oh yeah, big
film,
time.
and I wonder if the title was another thing that
Well, it is
like the Shinnin in The Simpsons. They didn't want to. They had to pay extra to use the title of the book.
It's the second film in his catalog that's had an R rating. So, how much consideration was given into the classification and censorship? Is I don't know.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it as we get into the
okay
the plot, because then if that's considered an R-rated film,
yeah. American R-rated.
I've got some questions.
American R-rated.
Yeah.
But look, it's fair to say that I grow fairly fatigued with M. Night Shyamalan's films. Although I was saying to somebody today, the interesting thing is, I feel like it's a trend to say, to shit on M. Night Shyamalan, right? And to say that, it's
everyone's doing it.
He's predictable, and there's always got to be this twist. He's just playing to the tropes and blah blah blah. But at the same time, I think back to quite a lot of his films. I'm like, well, actually, I did like that one. I think there's just a few that I really don't like passionately, which kind of overshadow the fact that I like a lot of the other ones.
No, I think the problem is with him is that he did so well with The Sixth Sense and Signs, and a couple of the others, that when a film doesn't live up to it, even if it's by general standards better than 5 out of the other 10 horror movies we've seen, it's still.
I think, and he's backed himself, into a bit of a corner, because the one thing that most people do when they're watching his movies is they're thinking ahead. So they're not really invested in the story at hand because they're too busy trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And this one, Cabin in the Woods, has a little bit of that element going on, but it's not his typical, plot twist kind of movie.
No, it's a lot more straightforward than you would think.
Yeah. And I think maybe that, I don't know if that's to its detriment or benefit, but I think you kind of don't know what to expect with this one, because is it going to do that to us, or is it just a generic kind of movie? But look, I'm going to put it out there and just say that I didn't like this one. I really came out scathing last night when I saw it with you at the cinemas, but I've had time to think about it. Still don't like it, but look, I'm not as critical of it as I was last night.
No. Look, I totally understand it, and what you were saying, and I can't, to a degree, I feel the same way. But for me, it did have it had a couple of things in it that I enjoyed, and that elevated it a bit.
Sure.
But like overall, the film's biggest issue is its ending.
Okay, so the synopsis for people at home is that there is a couple living with an adopted daughter, or not living, they're visiting a cabin in the woods. It's like a holiday retreat, and 4 strangers rock up. They are sort of home invaders, if you will, but they're very polite, pleasant type of intruders.
Well,
except for one, but they come with the demand that the couple, or the 3 family members, have to make a sacrifice in order to save the world. And I don't really want to go into too much more, because there is still a little bit of element of surprise there, as to where the story goes. But that's the gist of it, and that's what's in the trailer. I thought the entire premise was quite silly and borderline stupid, and that's kind of where it lost me, just because I wasn't on board for the ride.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's like one of those questions of, if you knew, would you kill Hitler as a baby?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The question is, sure you would, but how could you explain it to Hitler's parents?
Yes,
Like,
true, true.
it is a big kind of leap of faith, and it's a leap of faith movie. My problem is that I didn't think it really followed its own rules,
Mm-hmm.
because the three of them have to make a decision. Only two of them actually make a decision. Three of them have to participate. Only one of them actually, or two of them participate. There's a lot of.
Well, also, one of them is not mature enough to participate.
Yeah, and that's an issue. But her whole story is irrelevant, which seems to be a waste of a potential twist, or something that moves the narrative forward, when in fact it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, even the beginning thing, you're like, the beginning of the movie, she's catching grasshoppers, and typical in these kind of movies, you're like, I wonder how, like, they're paying a lot of attention to these grasshoppers.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to come, kind of be something at the end. It's nothing.
Nah, that's right. It's just a pleasant exchange.
Yeah, yeah, a little girl coming across Dave Bautista in the woods and catching grasshoppers together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with you there. Like, there's a lot of disjointedness going on, but like where it succeeds is like it's a one set piece. Like, it all takes place in a cabin, and I think there is a reasonable amount of tension in there. Like, there are moments that are very suspenseful, but he ruins the moment by flinching the camera. Like, he pulls away.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the rating. Like, I'm surprised that it's R, because every chance that you have for some good violence, some good gore, camera cuts away. There's none of it. It's actually, I actually think, like I mean, you mentioned last night, you mentioned Devil, that he wrote but didn't direct. I think I'm surprised that he directed this one, because you're right, it is a one setting, one location. They could have done this for an incredibly low budget,
and really. It feels like a companion piece to that, because thematically it's similar.
Yeah, but they could have done it for next to nothing. So why not give it to an up and coming filmmaker to make their bones? Why give it to M. Night Shyamalan to do? Who I have to say, what I did enjoy, one of the things I enjoyed, there are a couple. One of the things I really enjoyed was his cameo.
That was a good one.
Commercial guy.
Particularly after you and I have both watched Julia, the Julia Child's television series.
Yeah. The thing is, what I liked most about it is that he kind of sucks. He kind of sucked as a like, he's no what's his name? Tim, what's his name from Demtel?
I know what you mean. He's not a reference that means nothing to anybody.
To anyone else. But what's his name? What was the guy's name? Tim Shaw? Tim something?
Tim Shaw is what came to my mind, but I don't know if that was it. But he actually probably was Tim Shaw
Yeah.
Well,
he's certainly he's like the guy that sells the ladders. He's more like the guy who sells the ladders than the.
Well, look, it's an interesting point you make about why he wouldn't palm this off to another director, because the backstory for his movie The Visit, which we both agree was a pretty good movie, but the backstory for that was that he kind of had driven himself into the ground with Hollywood, and no one was willing to back him at that point. So he made The Visit as essentially a found footage type of movie with handheld cameras on the lowest of budgets, and got him back on track to being in demand. Right. So maybe this is another case of, well, his last film didn't fare too well, which I didn't like that one either. And maybe that's what he's got to do, is go back to basics.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the most expensive special effect in The Visit is the little parcels of shit wrapped up in tinfoil.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm pretty sure they were actual shits. Like, that's the kind of meticulous filmmaker he didn't. It's not just filled with, like,
were they his shits?
They were his shits. The entire writing process. And I noticed, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, from memory, there were three screenwriters on this.
Yes,
I think. And so I every time I see that, I wonder, are they working together, or is this a
pass down the line
thing where one guy's had a go.
Well,
I don't like this.
I believe if my memory serves me, this was one of those blacklist scripts that,
Right.
that's been passed down the line. So that probably accounts for the 3. But interestingly, talking of the writing and the story, this is based on a book that has a much better title, House at the End of the World. Like that's what this should have been called. But people that have never read that book should not go and read its synopsis, because this movie strays very, very far from that story. And I think if you know what the book has within its narrative, you won't want to watch this one knowing it's different. And I think if you are a fan of the book, you'll be mightily disappointed with this movie.
On the other hand, it's no spoiler. So once you've seen the movie, you can read the book free of having to worry that you already know what's coming.
That is a good point. Watch this movie first, then go read the book. Whole different experience. Yeah. Anyway, I guess that pretty much sums it up. Like, you liked it a bit more than I did. I'm a little bit more forgiving than I was when I first saw it. I don't think I'm going to come around to it fully.
What were the elements that I liked? I liked M. Night's cameo. I liked the fact that it was under 3 hours. It only went for a smooth 100 minutes.
That's a bonus.
I like the fact that Rupert Grint turned up and got the shit kicked out of him. I enjoyed that.
It's a great performance from him.
Yeah. So I think those were the things that I enjoyed the most.
I'm trying to think of things I really liked about it, and other than maybe like just the cinematography, like the way it was shot, I like that. But
yeah, look, I thought all the stuff in and around, the actual movement in and around the house was pretty good. Like I liked all that stuff, when they knock on the door and then you just see one on one side and Dave Bautista's shadow walking. Like I did kind of like that stuff. Is freaky. Like you just imagine yourself in that situation, and it does.
Yeah. I guess that plays into what I was saying about, like, it had some good suspense and whatnot. It just sort of didn't follow through with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
At one point, that was the biggest disappointment, is that there are some homemade weapons that feature quite prominently in the film, and never once do you actually really get to see them being used. Which you don't know
how they work, because they're quite intricate in their make.
And they're and there's a lot of there's a backstory to how they're made almost, but yet you don't get to see them being used.
Well, there are also backstories to the family, and most of those backstories feel a little bit irrelevant. Like I didn't feel necessary to go back and tell their story. And I think that maybe, and that's another thing we're talking about. That plays into maybe it's going for a little bit of elevated horror with some social commentary, which we were talking about, felt very much like a Jordan Peele type of thing. I think you brought that up.
Well, that's it. Actually, now that I think about it, there's no reason this movie couldn't have been a perfect 80 minutes, because they could have cut all of that stuff out. Like even the visitors who come to the house, you get to see, there's a bunch of their backstory, completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
There's the people in the house, unnecessary. It would have been better had you not known any of that stuff.
Yeah, had it been entirely what's happening in the cabin, and everything else is ambiguous, that's probably more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Well, there we go. I don't know. It's not even a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's sort of a sideways.
It's like you paid you're not screaming for a refund, but you're not telling your friends to go check it out either.
No, that's right. It's the whole wait for streaming aspect.
Yeah. I mean, look, Jesus, if Fresh Meat, which I really rated, is a straight to VOD movie, then what the hell was this doing in cinemas?
That's true. There we go. Well,
for a town that doesn't want to bank on M. Night Shyamalan anymore, this is they've got an odd way of showing it by making this one go theatrical, when the Purge movies don't get any theatrical releases in Australia.
Well, methinks that he's getting close to the VOD world, mate. He's not far off it. Maybe one more movie away.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Fingers crossed. No, look, I'm hoping that he does like a Wes Craven and does like Music of Chance, or not
Music of the Heart.
Music of the Heart. Oh, he does one of those kind of
movies.
He
started his career with that. He did Wide Awake before he did The Sixth Sense, and that's
And let's bring that back. Let's
That's basically actually that's probably a companion film to this one, because they're both kind of faith films in a way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this is a weird faith film where they don't really bring up faith, which is interesting.
Yeah, totally. And there's a whole contradiction there with the messaging that they're giving with with the outcome of the movie as well, which I'll just let people discover for themselves. But
Yeah.
that'll do, mate. Until the next one, whatever one that is, we've got a few coming up, so maybe a few more videos before we return on March 6th. But everybody watching this, make sure you go to our website, follow all the social media links, and click like and follow on all of those. And see you next time. See you, Ben.
See you, mate.